Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Jew Godfather here, back at it again with another episode of the Kosher Nostra podcast. I would like to wish everyone a happy Jewish History Month. Okay, so last episode we discussed the Nazis who remained in Germany, like the Nazi physician Herder Oberhäuser, who conducted experiments on inmates at Ravensbrück concentration camp, and SS General or Gruppenführer Fritz Katzmann. Now we will be discussing a country that collaborated with and also allowed Nazis to escape from their grasp after the war, and was even home to one Nazi in particular. But however, this country wasn't a major refuge for Nazis after the war, as others like South America and North America. Okay, so as always, I will have my sources down in the description below. Also, my Twitter will be there as well for you to follow if you desire. And on the Spotify version, I will have the YouTube link in the description below for my viewers to look at for those who want to see the visuals that will be in this video. Anyway, let's get started with this episode, shall we? Okay, so now we'll be discussing Nazis who France let escape. We will also be talking about, of course, how this happened. Well, that is because of the collaborationist puppet state, the Vichy France Regime, which lasted from July 1940 to September 1944, which was made after France's swift defeat at the Nazis' hands. This regime was led by Nazi collaborator Philippe Pétain. With the creation of this Nazi collaborator puppet state, it would give the chance of many fascist sympathizing French to serve the Nazis and also to participate in the Holocaust. And many of these fascist French would serve in the Nazis' military, such as the Legion of French Volunteers Against Bolshevism for the Wehrmacht, which had a total of 5,800 soldiers. Also, there would be French volunteers for the SS, known as the SS Volunteer Sturm Brigade, which had a total of 1,688 soldiers. After the liberation of France in 1944, these French Nazi soldiers of both the SS and the Wehrmacht would form the 33rd Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS Charlemagne for the Waffen SS to continue to fight for the Nazis from 1944 to 1945, and even be the last soldiers to defend Hitler's Führer bunker. The 33rd Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS Charlemagne had 7,340 soldiers. After the war, many of these Nazi collaborators were executed, but some would remain in France, and some even escaped, like Charles Lesca, who wrote for a pro-fascist French newspaper and even became its editor-in-chief. And in 1941, he published the anti-Semitic book Quand Israel se venge, translated in English meaning When Israel Takes Revenge, which for some stupid reason is for sale on Amazon. He would later flee after the liberation of France to Germany, and then later Spain, but then finally settled in Argentina and even helped other Nazis escape to South America. And he later died in 1948, never facing justice for his crimes. Another French Nazi collaborator was Jean Ferlot, who was a founding member of the pro-fascist militant group La Cagoule, and suspected in killing of Italian anti-fascists Carlo Roselli and Nelio Rossetti in 1937. After World War II, he fled to Spain, where he escaped justice and never paid for his crimes. His death date is unknown. Also, it is worth mentioning that a few French Nazi collaborators would still live in France, like SS member Christian de la Mazarin, also another SS member Leon Godler, and as well with René Binet, who was also a part of the SS, and a few others also remained in France. Also, there was a well-known Nazi who lived in France after the war, whom we shall discuss today. So let's get into that, shall we? Okay, so we are now going to be talking about the Nazi Joachim Peiper. Peiper was a member of the SS and served in the 1st Panzer Division of the Waffen SS. He was the liaison to Adolf Hitler and was the adjutant for Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS. In this position, he was exposed to the horrors of the Holocaust, which he witnessed firsthand. During Peiper's time in the SS, he was responsible for the Boeves massacre, where SS soldiers under Peiper's command in 1943 in Italy killed 23 civilians and burned 350 houses. In 1944, Peiper was also responsible for the Malmedy massacre in Belgium, where his SS soldiers killed 84 American prisoners of war. After the war in 1946, Joachim Peiper was sentenced to death, but unfortunately his sentence was commuted, and in 1956, Peiper was released from prison. After Peiper's release, he worked for the automobile companies Porsche and Volkswagen. In 1971, Peiper moved to Treves, France, and French authorities, despite knowing about his Nazi background, allowed him to live there and granted him a residence permit in 1972. However, in 1976, Joachim Peiper was burned alive in his house by anti-Nazi activists who called themselves the Avengers. He died and his body was destroyed by the fire, which marked the end of Peiper's undeserved freedom. Okay, so we learned about Nazi collaborators in France, and we learned about the Vichy France Regime. We also learned about Joachim Peiper and how French authorities allowed him to live in France despite publicly knowing that he was a Nazi war criminal. Okay, so next episode, and maybe even the final episode of this podcast series, we are going to be talking about or commemorating Israel for its work on capturing and dealing with Nazis who escaped. Okay, anyway, hope you all have a great day, and thanks for listening. If you like it, please follow me on Spotify. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. I'll have all those in the links in the description below. Anyway, sei gesund.